The top 5 bets for week 17, and we're getting into it. Beautiful people out there in the streets right now. The number 5 bet that I'm on is going to have a quarterback change here, and it's going to be the San Francisco 49ers minus 12.5 versus the Houston Texans. The Texans are coming off of a big win against the Los Angeles Chargers, and that's going to spike the marketplace, especially when you remember that the San Francisco 49ers lost in prime time on Thursday Night Football against the Titans. But those are two totally different wins and losses. The Texans being able to run the ball on the league's worst run defense DVOA-wise and EPA-wise in the Los Angeles Chargers is a different story than coming in now against a top 5 run stop and defensive line in the San Francisco 49ers. And the complete opposite can be said for the San Francisco 49ers now facing the Texans compared to the Titans. The Titans are a totally different team on not just the defensive side of the ball, but the offensive side of the ball when you have superstar weapons like an A.J. Brown returning for them. San Francisco's weak part is probably their cornerbacks, which A.J. Brown in that Thursday night game was able to take advantage of. I hate to break it to you, yes, Brandon Cooks is solid, but he's not going to bully you. He's not this monster 220, 230-pound receiver. He's not that type of guy who can bully you nonstop the entire game. And I get it, Davis Mills has been playing better as of late. But let's not kid ourselves. They won that game because they were able to run the ball down the throat of the Los Angeles Chargers, which is not going to be able to be the case against this here San Francisco team, a defensive line and run stop that ranks fourth in run stop, DVOA, and EPA this year. The 49ers beat down on poor teams, right? This is a 13.5-point spread at open net because of the Jimmy G not going to play news and Trey Lance in, which I don't really, the experience matters, but I don't think changes the number all that much. We get a nice 12.5 number here. It might even move more in our favor as the rest of the week goes on, but they beat down on bad teams, recently beating Atlanta by 18, recently beating Jacksonville by 20. I like this spread here against a Houston team that I put in that same ballpark as those other two teams mentioned. You get one of the best, if not the best, rush offense in the NFL now going up against a bad defensive line, if you will, all capitals BAD, and that Houston defensive line right now ranks 31st in tackling, 30th in run defense EPA. It's going to be a good spot for the top 5 rush offense in the San Francisco 49ers. We take them minus 12.5. The number 4 top bet of the week, we're going to Vegas and Indy, and there's a quarterback possible situation going in. Carson Wentz originally was going to be ruled out. The new changes to the NFL COVID C-19 protocols is now going to make it so that Carson Wentz could return by Sunday if his symptoms get better. Either way, I don't care. I like the under on this game. If Wentz is out, we like it even better. I like the under 45 as of this recording, and this is going up just a couple of minutes and hours before it goes out. So right now, under 45 in this game. There's a lot of reasons why. It's not just, and honestly, the quarterback thing didn't even spark this. I like this before the Carson Wentz news came out. I prepped this video, and now we're here still, and it's a similar to under. It does mainly become a bet on if whoever is starting at quarterback for the Colts can move the ball effectively, consistently with big plays. And whether that is Carson Wentz, we haven't seen it this year. I know he's been solid, but in terms of consistently with big plays, has not been there this year without turnover-worthy plays also being mixed in. And if it's Sam Ehlinger from Texas, I'm definitely not going to think that there's upside there. I mean, he won us a preseason slate, but no. And the reason I say this is because the Raiders rank 6th overall in stopping the run. Like, their rush offense, their rush defense, DVOA is very good. And if you saw last week, Jonathan Taylor had a big 40-yard run, but, I mean, they limited him, the Cardinals. They sold out to stop the run. Teams are going to sell out to stop the run and say, hey, Carson, beat us, Carson. And last week he played decent, but it wasn't elite by any means. The way to beat the Raiders is they play single high safety, so you just throw over the top. You get one-on-one matchups somewhere on the field, you throw over the top, right? And that's the way to beat them. That's the way that you can beat them, but that's not the way that the Colts play football. And even if they did, Carson Wentz right now is just average. He's averaging big-time throws. He's average, according to Pro Football Focus, 14th overall. He's number 12 in EPA per play. So he's just been average so far this year, which is better than they probably thought they were getting, but it's still not enough for me to say, oh, yes, I think he's going to propel a 24-point scoring offense, 27, 28-point scoring offense for the Colts today. And then you look at the opposite side of this equation. So that's the reason why I think that they're going to be able to bottle up to an extent. Even if Jonathan Taylor goes for 120 yards, I don't care as long as he's not scoring 5 touchdowns. Just keep that clock churning, keep the pace going. The Colts are the slowest paced team in the NFL right now. We love that for the under. And on the other side of this game, the Raiders, I put out a tweet earlier this week. Follow me over there at DFS. I mean, what you're getting right now is a team that is totally different. No Ruggs and no Waller, and I don't think Waller's going to play this week. We'll see. But this is a awful team. The upside from this team is completely shot. It's all Josh Jacobs now, like you saw last week, having like a career high rushing. This Raiders offense has not scored more than 17 points in the last month. They have scored 15, 9, 16, and 17 points. Derek Carr is 35th in deep ball percentage the last last 4 games without Ruggs and without Waller. And during that time, they're averaging about 14 points per game. 35th in the NFL out of 32 starting teams in deep ball percentage. There's no downfield, no big play upside. He was top 3 in that category the first 6 weeks of the season. I like the under. No big plays from either team in this game. We take the under. The Trey Bomb, the Trace, that's number 3 best bet of the week. To the beautiful people out there, hey, the number 3 bet, another under. Another under 45. It just so happens to work out that way with yet again some teams from the same division. The Los Angeles Chargers here and the Denver Broncos, under 45. These guys played earlier this year, and that game also went under 45, but there's a lot of reasons I like the under 45 here. I mean, you just saw the Houston Texans do whatever they wanted last week against the Chargers on the ground. And although Brandon Staley says they have to evaluate the defense and change that, I don't know how much you're going to change in about a 6-day period. So we know Denver's game plan going into this one. We know that they're going to probably try and run the ball a whole lot. No matter who's back there or quarterback for them, it's not really going to move the needle in terms of their team total over. They're going to try and run the ball with what they have. Decent tight ends, a stud young running back in Javonte Williams, and Melvin Gordon, who for some reason, because he's older, people don't like him, but he's continuously being effective for them. And when Rex Burkhead goes for 120 plus yards and a couple of touchdowns, yeah, it makes Melvin Gordon look like an absolute superstar walking into this week. The first 2 times that these teams met, Denver wins 28-13. It goes under this 45 that you're looking at right now. Denver only throws 25 times as they don't have to throw all that much in that game, and they run 31 times, and they win on the ground. And now they get the Chargers, who rank 31st in run defense EPA, who rank 24th in tackling, who right now Denver is a bottom 5 team in pace. So this is perfect. Denver says, hey, we like to slow the game down. We like throwing the ball, and oh, this team is going to at least let us have the ability to do that. In 7 of the 9 last games for Denver, their games have gone under 45 points. And the only 2 that happened over the last 9 games, the last 10 weeks when you include their bye, the last 10 weeks, they have 2 games that have gone over 45 points. One has totaled 46 points, so just barely. They're not blowing these out of the water. 46 points against Dallas when they beat Dallas. And then the other one is 48 points in a win versus Detroit. So even when their wins are going over this number, it's just barely getting there. We have a really good chance here. On the opposite side for the Chargers, they might get Mike Williams back because of the new COVID rules. They might get Jalen Guyton back on the outside to get that offense fully back. They're probably going to get already Eckler back. But I mean, if Mike Williams is to lose, even better now for the under because big play upside goes out the window. But we do like what we're seeing here. And Patrick Surtain will be out there. Seeing Mike Williams can hold that down for the big play upside. We're mainly banking on the fact that Denver, they dictate the pace of the games that they play in. And they're going to be able to maybe better than ever in this matchup like they did the first time because of that Chargers run defense. And as we transition into bet number 4, I want to give you all a free bet up to $100 for your props this weekend. So be sure to take advantage of it using the code SAL. I took, personally, this is a Prize Picks. It's an over-under on player props. They are the best in the industry. It is not even close. So many options to choose from. And it is legal in a way more states. Florida, Texas, New York, wherever you might be, it is legal there. So check it out. Use the code SAL. You get a free bet up to $100. I take Antonio Brown over 75.5 receiving yards and David Montgomery over 64.5 rushing yards. I have Antonio Brown projecting out for 98 receiving yards, so 20 plus yards over this, and I have David Montgomery for over 80 rushing yards, so I have him for about 20 yards over that. These are my 2 favorite props as of right now on the board. You can take them. You get a free bet up to $100 to tail this if you use the code SAL on prizepicks.com. This is indeed a limited time offer, so be sure to act not now, but right now, use the code SAL and take advantage of it. This next bet might as well scream out the public play of the week, right? But the public doesn't always lose, and I agree with them. I agree with them here, and I don't even know who the fuck this public is. It's this big scary ghost in the closet you gotta let out. But I agree with them this week. It's the Rams minus 3.5 versus Baltimore, right? The Rams over the last 4 games have won them all by at least a touchdown or more. Some good teams in there like the Cardinals. Some maybe good teams in there like the Minnesota Vikings. Some used to be good teams in there like the Seattle Seahawks. And now this Rams team and their defense is now fully back from COVID. Whether it's their safeties, whether it's their cornerbacks, whether it's their defensive line. They're fully back. Von Miller, right? They're back. They're top 2. Rush defense. They're middle of the pack, but trending upwards secondary because the pass rush is getting there more. So that bodes well for them. And on the opposite side of the field, they're facing a team that started 3 different quarterbacks over the last 3 weeks. And somehow Mark Andrews has gone over 100 yards with each of those guys. Just absolute tear right now that he is on. But shelve that conversation because you get Baltimore who is struggling with their team being a shell of itself before the season even started, losing their top 3 running backs to just injury after injury after injury, to losing Marcus Peters early on. And since then, the secondary has only continued to drop. They've been down Lamar Jackson, of course. Their backfield right now looks like a geriatric center with Devonta Freeman and Latavius Murray back there. So it's just a shell of itself. And all of this means, how are we getting a minus 3.5 spread? How? I mean, I know that this is a situation where they're going on the road. I understand that if we even believe in that home field advantage anymore. It doesn't seem like it for how the Ravens have been playing lately. But when you're looking at this matchup for Stafford, his top 3 receivers, Tyler Higbee, and you see that this Baltimore secondary this season is in the exact same category, the exact same area as Detroit, who has no cornerbacks, as Jacksonville, whose cornerbacks are very suspect, and the New York Jets, and then they're not generating any pressure, being bottom half of the league at generating pressure. It doesn't help that secondary. How does this not turn into a situation where the Rams can do whatever they want? You flip the script to the other side, to the Rams, and yeah, without Darrell Henderson, they might go to run the ball more with Sony Michel, as they have been for almost the last month. And even if that's the case, I think they find success there as well. You had to play action passing more efficiently and more effectively, right? And you get a situation where the Rams rank so far number 3 in neutral pace this year. If they're ranking number 3 this season in neutral pace, that's going to open up so much opportunity for them in this game. Whether it is they're down a touchdown, whether they're up by 3 and they can quick fire. Where on the opposite side, Baltimore currently ranks right now bottom 5 in the NFL in pace. So when they get down, it's really difficult for them to mount the comeback. It's really difficult for them to finish that comeback off, which gives us even more faith in the Rams. They can score quick and make up points quick. Baltimore can't. You have more outs with the Rams at this minus 3.5 point bet. And you might go back and you might look at, oh, but over the last 8 games, there's a trend. The Ravens have kept 5 of their last 8 games within 3 points. But you look at the teams they're facing. The Browns, the Bears, Pittsburgh's in there. I know the Packers are in there. The Packers, who kind of let up in the second half, played a lot more soft shells against Tyler Huntley, who might start this week if Lamar can't go. But we can't start looking at that trend and then compare this healthy Rams team on a 4-game win streak. We can't compare that team to the Browns, the Bears, the Steelers. We just can't. It's not even worth mentioning the trend. If you want to compare it to a 1-game sample of the Packers, it's a different story. But again, that's a 1-game sample. So give me the Rams minus 3.5 for you beautiful people out there. We're going to stamp it on our forehead, public play of the week. But hey, we don't care, because sometime we're the people's champ. Sometime we have to be the people's champ out there in the streets. And this week, we're the people's champions. And for our 5th bet, we just mentioned these 2 shit teams, and those teams are going to be Cleveland versus Pittsburgh on a night game. We got to watch this game in prime time. Can we stop watching Big Ben in prime time? Can we stop watching Baker Mayfield with one shoulder, the poor guy going out there in prime time? I'm taking the under 41.5. I know this is a low total. It opened at like 42 in some spots. Hopefully you got it there. At under 41.5, do we even have to break it down as far as this is the Steelers versus the Browns? Is that all I have to tell you? This is Baker Mayfield with one shoulder versus Big Ben Roethlisberger right now. 2 slow-paced teams. Let's look at it. Big Ben in Pittsburgh's last 5 games, they're averaging 17.4 points per game. The separated shoulder of Baker Mayfield in Cleveland's last 6 games are averaging 15 points per game. There you go, 32.4 points per game out of these teams the last month and a half. That's all you need to know on the under. Obviously, I'm talking a little bit tongue-in-cheek and joking there, but there's a point of it that makes a lot of sense as well. I mean, these guys just don't have playmakers. Big Ben does not hit deep throws. Baker Mayfield has never in his career hit deep outside throws. That's why Odell Beckham Jr. is not there. That's why Donovan Peoples-Jones last week was running down the field and 3 times the ball's overthrown. One time he has to try and make an acrobatic dive and catch, and he gets credited with a fucking drop. The first time these teams matched up, it was a 15-10 victory. It was very slow-paced and sluggish. I expect the same. Steelers' run defense is not great, but they were able to bottle up. They didn't have Kareem Hunt, so he'll be back for this one. But they were able to at least bottle up what you were getting out there out of Nick Chubb, Dearness Johnson, Demetric Felton, 21 carries, 86 yards, and a score on the ground. Cleveland ranks top 5 in rush offense DPA. The Steelers are borderline bottom 5 in defense there. So Cleveland's going to try and run the ball. I mean, that's their whole entire offense. It's the only reason why they were in the game. I can't believe they didn't keep running the ball against the Packers. They probably would have had a chance at a game-winning field goal on that final drive. But they're going to run the ball. Getting Kareem Hunt back, they're going to run the ball. So as long as we don't get these 3 rushing touchdown games from these running backs, they're breaking long runs. The Steelers, even if they're giving up 5 yards a carry, 4 yards a carry, whatever it might be, just, bottle it up to an extent to keep that clock rolling. Both of these quarterbacks stink. They rank bottom 10 in the NFL in EPA, expected points added, and Cleveland is the 2nd slowest paced teams, only in front of the Indianapolis Colts. So you're going to get a slow paced game here with lacks of big play upside. We just have to avoid pick sixes, punt block for touchdowns, all those fluky type plays that can happen here. If this game has none of those and it's just up to the offenses to score field goals and touchdowns, 2-point convert, all that stuff, we're going to be into a good spot. There's not going to be that much scoring. Going up and down the field right now for the Pittsburgh Steelers and this Cleveland team is very difficult. We even get the benefit if COVID news was to break out on either of these teams again. We get some benefits there of having the under for all these unders that we're taking right now. I'm very scared and not wanting to take overs because of that reason. But these situations, those are 5 bets that stand out. That's a free bet up to $100 on the props on Prize Picks. Use the code SAL for a free bet up to $100. The bets are back. The playoffs are here. The best bets video will be here every week now that Thursday Night Football is over. And we got the bandwidth to crank these out. So thank you for being here. I appreciate you all in advance. My name's Sal Vetri at Sal Vetri DFS on Twitter. And I'll see you all when I see you, gang. And I'll see you in the next ones. New videos on this channel drop every single day. Best of luck this weekend, everybody. And when you win the Dollar Rooskies and they ask you, where did you win that money from? Tell them, I know football. in football, yeah, football knows me.